Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I want to talk about the geopolitics of South Asia. It appears that there are lots of new players in the region who are exerting pressure over the nations of South Asia. And I can count 1, 2, 3, and 4 outside powers which are uh, playing a role in the development, in the security, and the geopolitics of South Asia. When we talk about South Asia, we usually look at the region from Afghanistan to Myanmar. Most South Asians don't consider Myanmar as part of South Asia. It's part of ASEAN countries, East Asia. So you have Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives, and Bhutan. These are the 8 countries which are usually put into the box called South Asia. But for today, I want to consider South Asia as a region without Pakistan. And you will understand why I'm thinking so, because after Mr. Narendra Modi became Prime Minister of India, the momentum that was part of SAARC began to decline, and India's diplomatic strategy to exclude Pakistan and marginalize it ultimately led to the demise of SAARC and has led to many regional commentators even arguing that the idea of South Asia is probably dead. And India then has moved towards this new minilateral arrangement called BIMSTEC, which is basically India and everything that is east of India. So anyway, I think what is happening is that India, in pursuit of playing a role at the international level, Dr. Jaishankar, India's external affairs minister, continues to be often the only guy, or along with France, very prominent voice in the international arena, claiming that we live in a multipolar world. And then multipolar world is a world where there are many powers rather than the unipolar world, there is one power, or bipolar system where there are 2 competing powers. So he sees the world as composed of many powers, and among them are the United States, China, Russia, European Union, Japan, and India. So in order to make India a global power, he sees this as a multipolar world. And given the fact that India is now one of the top 5 economies, it has the 3rd biggest or 4th biggest defense budget, I don't blame him for thinking that India is a major power. So therefore, he sees the world as a multipolar system. But unfortunately, one can't say the same about South Asia. Before Prime Minister Modi took over the reins of Indian foreign policy, India more or less pursued a non-aligned policy. It did not align itself with any major power, especially during the Cold War. It was closer to Soviet Union than the US, but it was also collaborating with the US. So if you go and look at lifetime foreign aid from the US, you will find that India is one of the top 10 recipients of US foreign aid. And a lot of that aid came during the Cold War. But Prime Minister Modi then went after Pakistan, and thereby, in pursuit of, shall we call, regional hegemony, has actually succeeded in alienating many of the South Asian powers. And so India today does not have good relations with most of the countries in its neighborhood, even though India's foreign policy says that neighborhood first is an important element of its foreign policy, especially since 2008, when it was first articulated. Prime Minister Modi in his first term, he invited most of the regional leaders, including Nawaz Sharif and Sheikh Hasina, to come to his inauguration. So all of there were attempts by India to bring the regional countries closer to India, including Pakistan, but also with the goal of establishing Indian hegemony in the region. The new Indian Parliament has a map of what is called as a Khand Bharat, the greater India, which includes regions up to Afghanistan in the west and Myanmar in the east. So this territorial expansion aspiration, when quizzed, they say that, oh no, this is just a cultural desire to integrate this region culturally well. But there are other voices which constantly talk of expanding India to include most of South Asia. So this particular ideology of Akhand Bharat has alienated a lot of countries in the region. When I talk to experts from Bangladesh and even Nepal, they find this bullying attitude of India quite frustrating to them, counterproductive, and it drives them towards other powers, and thereby the region, rather than becoming more integrated, has become more fragmented. And so there is no such thing as an institutionalized South Asia at the moment, especially with SAARC becoming completely inactive. So what has happened as a result of India's failed neighborhood first policy? Even though India did help many of the countries, it helped Maldives on a couple of occasions, it has helped Sri Lanka with loan guarantees, it has helped Bangladesh, it has helped Bhutan. Bhutan is the biggest recipient of foreign aid from India, and it has also on occasions helped Nepal. But it has also on occasions acted as a bully, thereby also alienating them. So this policy of India, which is the cultural and ideological policy, has forced other countries in the region to look elsewhere. And that has brought in China, that has brought in Turkey, that has also brought in the United States, and even EU into South Asia. EU's role is the least, it is the most minimal. It is only economic development and trade. So yes, EU is a major trading partner of India, it's a major trading partner of Bangladesh, and EU provides a lot of assistance for development, for democracy promotion, rule of law, and all the good things, besides sheer developmental aid, especially in countries which are also plagued by environmental crisis. The Europeans have stepped up, especially Germany. So the European role is essentially economic and development, but the rest of the countries have played essentially both economic and security role. So because we don't see Pakistan as a South Asian player at the moment, at least for this conversation, the return of Pakistan to South Asia is interesting. So I could argue that Pakistan is another player which is now being forcefully in South Asia. Its military encounter with India recently, I mean, it is taking on the hegemon wannabe. And yes, it may not have come out on top and may have been on the receiving end, but it has shown a willingness to militarily face India. And then it has now developed strategic alliances with Bangladesh. I think primarily the role that Pakistan is now playing in the security arrangement with Bangladesh, in also normalizing relations with Bangladesh, is the reason why I'm saying that Pakistan has come back to South Asia in a way that is not integrating the region, rather dividing the region and undermining India's interests, but it's now a major player in South Asia. Until now, it was just a challenger and an irritant to India. So the second player that I think is playing a role in India, Pakistan can hardly play a role of economic development, but it is playing a role of some kind of a security partner for Bangladesh. So it's the exact opposite role that European Union is playing. But Pakistan's role in terms of security cooperation is at the moment limited to Bangladesh. I think it might extend to some extent to Maldives, and through the renewal, through the expansion of CPEC into Afghanistan. And it does have decent relations with Nepal. So I think Pakistan has good relations with at least Afghanistan, not so much with Afghanistan, but definitely with Bangladesh and Maldives, and to some extent with Nepal. The third player, which is playing a role in the region, is obviously India. The United States. The US is now been pursuing India. India is part of the Quad, the United States Indo-Pacific Grand Strategy. And India is seen as a very important strategic partner in balancing and containing China. And therefore, in that sense, the US is playing a big role. US does not have formal bases in India at the moment, but it has informal bases. US ships get repaired now in at least 2 or 3 places in India. There's a lot of military training, core training going on between US and India, joint exercises both in the mountains, in the Himalayas, as well as on the sea, in the Indian as well as in the Pacific Ocean. You see US and Indian navies doing exercises together. So there's a lot of defense-related, security-related cooperation going on. And if India succeeds in becoming a replacement to China in the global supply chains for the US economy, then you could say that India has opened the door for the US to become a major player in South Asia. And of course, countries which are trying to push India back, like Bangladesh, after the removal of Sheikh Hasina and Pakistan, all have turned to China. And China, with its own grand strategy of the Belt and Road Initiative, where it is trying to link the world to China through trade links, which are sea as well as land-based. So it's Bangladesh is a part of it, Maldives is part of it, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan. Except Bhutan and India, everybody else are deeply connected to China's economy now through the Belt and Road Initiative. China is the biggest investor in all of these countries. And China is also the biggest arms provider to Bangladesh as well as Pakistan. In fact, 80% of all of China's arms sales or exports go to Pakistan and Bangladesh. So in that sense, China is playing a comprehensive role in South Asia. It is providing both economic and development roles. It's playing the role that EU plays, and it is also providing security infrastructure, security partnership, the way the United States is. So basically, China is like a competitor to the combination of US and EU in South Asia. And now the latest entrant to the region is Turkey. Turkey made its presence felt during the Operation Sindoor, when it provided, according to some reports, 6 C-130s, whatever that big transport plane is, full of weapons. There were many Turkish drones which participated in Pakistan's response to India. So there are diplomatic collaboration going on between Turkey and Pakistan. And Turkey is also now reaching out to Bangladesh and Maldives. So you now see a plethora of outside powers participating in South Asian politics. You have Turkey, China, EU, and the US. And all of this is happening because India has failed to consolidate its hegemony in the region. The failure of SAARC. If SAARC was well developed, like African Union or like Organization of Latin American States, I mean, EU and NATO is, of course, they are very unique institutions coming out of World War II. But at least if SAARC was active and institutionally developed, integrating the markets at least, then it would have precluded such a massive role by players and powers from outside the region. India's efforts in South Asia, which are obviously part of its neighbors first policy, is basically providing a lot of aid to Bhutan to obviously reduce Chinese, shall we say, incursions into the region, because especially since the Doklam episode. But India is more of a trading, like they are focused on connectivity, they're focused on providing some like medical visas, focused on trade, obviously. A lot of Bangladesh exports depend on raw material from India. A lot of Bangladeshis come to India for healthcare and for also study. Maldives, nearly everybody from Maldives, if they need to see a doctor, they come to India. In fact, India supplies even drinking water to Maldives in moments of crisis. So yes, these countries are connected, but they are also seeking to hedge with China. There are two or three reasons for why these countries are looking at China and others. One is the opportunity that China presents, investments, trade, development, Belt and Road Initiative, which is building infrastructure. So lots of infrastructure projects, both in Maldives as well as in Bangladesh, are entirely funded by China. So China presents an opportunity to these countries, and they are unwilling to. I mean, why would they not accept that? So that's one big reason why you see the role of foreign powers in the region. Number two, the United States also participates, but there's a lot of human rights and democracy related intervention on the US, which even bugs India, especially during the Biden administration, when Blinken said we are observing and keeping an eye on India, and then Kamala Harris gave Narendra Modi a lecture in Los Angeles on democracy and minority rights and so on. So the United States has been trying to promote democracy in Bangladesh. With Pakistan, it has counterterrorism cooperation, so it has a different angle there. But nevertheless, the United States involvement is more driven by what the US needs, and then you fix yourself. Whereas China's involvement in the region is, what do you need? So that's the fundamental difference. That's why China has, I guess, greater sway in the region. And now Turkey, that is something that is quite interesting. It's a middle-level power. And I think Turkey's interest in South Asia is not because of South Asia, but it's probably because of Central Asia. And so Turkey is seeking to expand its sphere of influence through the stance. I remember when I went to Konya. Konya is a city in the Midwest of Turkey, where Jalaluddin Rumi's shrine is there. So anytime I'm in Turkey, I like to go to Konya to visit the Maulana. And then I always lecture there. There are two universities, the Najmuddin Arbakan University and Seljuk University in Konya. So I've lectured at both those universities. And it was very interesting to see that there were about 4,000 Kazakh students in that city. So Turkey provides lots of scholarships to students of Turkic background. So Turkey perhaps also sees Afghanistan and Pakistan as an adjunct to its interest in Central Asia. So anyway, I think it's time for India to rethink its South Asia strategy and its relations with its neighbors, because as things proceed, India might not be it is today not the most powerful player in South Asia. China is more influential than India, without doubt. In fact, India is also now reaching out to China with all these Ajit Doval's 2 trips to China, and then Rajnath Singh and Dr. Jaishankar. I'm willing to bet that Prime Minister Modi will also go to China for the SCO summit. So you can see that India is also reaching out to China, and that means China becomes a much bigger player in South Asia. So India will not even be the second biggest player in South Asia if its relations with the rest of the countries deteriorate as they have. So I think, the conclusion of this conversation is that I think India needs to fundamentally rethink its foreign policy in South Asia and its relations with its neighbors. If you look at all the big neighbors, India does not have good relations. Who are the 3 big neighbors? China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And India does not have good relations with any of them. Sri Lanka was neutral during Operation Sindoor. So right now, the best friend that India has in the region is Bhutan, a country of 600,000 people. Anyway, so that's the point that I wanted to make. I hope you found this interesting. So please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, And don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.